Welcome on into another edition of Union Talk. I am your host, Sean Brace from PhillyInfiltrator.com, joined by my co-host, Mr. Ryan Ellis. Follow him on Twitter, @TheSportsNomad. He is from Calkins Media. Ryan, last time we spoke on Union Talk, we were talking about a game that the Union needed to win at home versus Montreal.
I believe we called it a must-win.
We did. They did not get that outcome. They did come away with 1 point. Tough stretch, or tough ending to the game, because I thought the Union had a lot of opportunities in the second half. It was hot. No excuses. This is the playoff stretch. They have to convert. They got to get, when the points are there at home, you need to get those points, and they failed to do so. Tough game against Montreal. What did you see in that game?
I was actually at the game. I was down at Talent Energy Stadium, Sean. The crowd showed up. The crowd was there from minute one. They were supporting the team. It's unfortunate that the Union couldn't deliver in return. And what they've done is they put themselves in a position where they owe us. This upcoming road trip, they owe us a win. Because we were there, we were loud, we were supporting, we wanted those 3 points. And the team that we love was not able to give it back to us.
Yeah, and you know what? It seems like it's something that's plaguing them this year. And things change, obviously, I know, and especially when it's 100 degrees outside. But like you said, everybody was there as far as fans are concerned. But it seems like when you get down the stretch, things are just a little crazy. I mean, we saw it against DC United. We've seen it a number of times that the Union have just failed to finish. And I don't know if that's something that Jim Curtin could do. Is his message not getting across? I mean, obviously the Union want to win that game.
Right.
You know, so, but what's happening at the end of these games that the Union are coming short from 3 points?
Earlier in the season, Sean, they were able to close those games out. Sometimes it was due to an amazing Blake save, I'll be the first to admit.
Sure.
But they have a very rigid training program. They train 2 times a day, and that's almost unheard of in the MLS. And I think when you're coming out of the gate, you're getting into mid-season form earlier in the season ahead of everyone else. That pays dividends. You're going to win, and or worst case scenario, draw a few of those games down the end. They are getting to a point now where everyone's already in mid-season form, and they are looking tired early. They dropped 2 points. Dropped 3 points against Houston. They dropped 2 points on the road against DC.
Yep.
Looked horrid against Chicago last week, and of course, 87th minute equalizer for Montreal in this most recent game. Not good for the Union, but you know what? Jim Curtin does have the capability of training that back a little bit. They've got a great sports science department, and coming up this road trip, it's something they're going to have to figure out. 5 games left. Before we talk about the future, let's talk a little bit more about the past. I want to talk about 2 players. Let's look at Alejandro Bedoya, Mr. USA, out there getting into arguments with SiriusXM satellite analysts. I love it. He's on Twitter. I'm just expecting a little bit more. Is that fair? What did you see in that Montreal game from Alejandro? I think it's I think it's fair. Definitely his least effective performance in a Union uniform, but he set the bar pretty high.
Yes,
he certainly did. Represented the country very, very well, and he was coming off a game in Jacksonville earlier that week. He played, I believe, 65 plus minutes. He looked tired. He was not effective in that game. Nothing really stood out to me, which is unusual for Bedoya. I fully expect that to change against Portland this weekend.
Yeah, well, the Union need him, that's for sure. And they also need some production from Mr. CJ Sapong.
Yes.
CJ had a number of opportunities to step up in that second half. One that just was, I have no idea. Nobody was around him. He's driving right down the middle of the field, and he put it 10 yards above the goal. It's just unacceptable. I just don't understand how that happens. I know he's struggling. Maybe he's pressing. Need some production out of CJ Sapong.
Absolutely. This is a guy earlier in the season, Sean, was getting U.S. men's national team calls. People wanted him to play for the men's national team. Ultimately didn't happen, but he was playing very, very well, very effective. He has since gone cold on the team. But you know what? A guy of CJ's caliber, he gets 1 goal, he'll be back on track. But he's got the first goal is the hardest. He's got to get that monkey off his back. And what better time to do it than at Portland this weekend?
There it is. Like I said, now 5 games left in the season. Union are looking good. It looks like they're going to make the playoffs. Knock on wood, all right? Knock on wood over here. We are Philadelphia sports fans at the end of the day. Crazier things have happened before. But, and I realize that this looks like murder's row as far as these 3 next matches versus Portland, versus Toronto, versus the Red Bulls. And, oh, by the way, finished the season with the Red Bulls again. So 2-5. I get that. But, just like when the Union were going to Chicago, everyone's like, oh, that's a win, that's a win, that's a win. What happened? So looking at these 3 matches, and especially this first one in Portland, I really do feel like the Union could go out there and sneak a victory.
Absolutely. This one is there for the taking. Portland won last week against Real Salt Lake. Had a midweek game, however, in Costa Rica for the CONCACAF Champions League, and they lost. So they are traveling just as much as the Union are. Played in a high altitude, extreme heat. They're going to be tired. They played Wednesday night, and now they're turning around a few days later and playing the Union on Saturday. It's there for the take. Now, we all know that Portland's a raucous environment, but you know what? Talent and energy is not so bad, or not too welcoming to away fans either. So I honestly think that they're getting up for this game. I'd love to see CJ Portland back in that early and take advantage of a very tired Portland Timbers team.
Toughest match out of these next 5 games. Obviously, we played Red Bulls twice, so toughest opponent. Who you feeling? Is it Toronto?
Yeah, based on history, it's got to be Toronto. They just played. Yeah, Josie played well. Bradley, he's able to secure that center, and Giovinco. I mean, he can just score from anywhere. He's deadly. But you know what? That's a whole week away.
That's fair.
And you know what? These are the teams we're going to be playing anyway in the playoffs. This is the last Western Conference opponent until the playoffs.
Yep.
So what better tune-up than the playoffs start now? As far as I'm concerned, we got to do well against these teams.
It sets the tone, that's for sure. So if the
Absolutely.
Union are going to make the playoffs, this exactly sets the tone right here in Portland. All right, for Ryan Ellis, I'm Sean Brace. This is Union Talk. Hopefully next week we're talking about a victory in Portland for the Union. Go Union.
Great weekend, everyone.